Thank you, Club, for having us out here to speak. Can you all hear me in the back? I'm just like all of you. Music is my profession, and politics is my necessity. I'm not a professional politician, and anyone could tell you that I probably wouldn't have a political career being elected because I have a habit of telling the truth as I see it too often. And that would not hold me in good stead in running for office, I think. But, which is unfortunate because I always encourage politicians to do exactly that. But I'm very active. I'm the president of Valley Democrats United in the San Fernando Valley. I'm a member of the Central Committee of the California Democratic Party from the 42nd AD. I'm one of the founders of Progressive Democrats of America in the state of California. I'm on the board of the California Clean Money Action Fund. And like I said, I'm not a professional politician. I'm an activist. And what I mostly do in my life is music. I'm finishing up a new record as we speak, and I hope to have it out in a few weeks. I'm also newly appointed and working with Mark Pash as the Executive Director of the Center for Progressive Economics. What happened, the way I met Mark, and I think what it's really going to be important to you, is that I'm an author as well. I had time to write a book and all of that. This is my book, Left Turn Only, Dispatches from the Progressive Underground. And what the book is about is the story of the progressive movement in the state of California from 2003 to 2010. And I was an observer and a participant at the heart of every action we did as progressives in California. Founding the Progressive Caucus in the California Democratic Party, like I said, PDA. And I personally went on the road and helped found 5, 6 chapters of PDA across the state. I've spoken at innumerable Democratic clubs and progressive organizations all over the state of California. And for a long time I was a blogger on Huffington Post and Daily Kos, and after a while I realized I was writing so many blogs that I wanted to put the blogs into a book. And so I did, and that's where Left Turn Only came from. And what happened in the writing of the book is I was describing what was going on in the Democratic Party and the progressive movement, as I became more and more aware that the argument really was no longer about politics, it was about economics. And I do believe that that's the main stage of debate now, and I believe that Washington, D.C. agrees. This is the main debate, economics. And so I wrote an article called Who's Minding the Store? Or Please Pass the Whole Wheat Bread. And what this comes from is when I was a young man and I left college to go play rock and roll in the Haight-Ashbury of San Francisco. And yes, for those who are going to ask, I did have a lot of hair in those days. So I like to say I'm in a post-hair world. This is the new me. But as my children can tell you, I had a lot of hair, in different colors too, as different genres of music came by. But I lived in a commune in Berkeley. And that's where my daughter, my first child, was born. And what we did in our commune is we ran natural food restaurants. Okay? And it wasn't maybe what you typically think of as a commune. We were very capitalist. And we were introducing organic and natural food to California, to America, and to the world. That's what our restaurants were about. We were one of the founders of the Organic Merchants Association over 40 years ago. And our food was well known. We had many politicians, musicians. I used to serve Miles Davis and many different people that would come for what we were serving. And I remember when my mother, I was from Dallas, and she came out to visit. She just was so appalled that her children were living in a commune. Because I was raised to be an attorney and a CEO. That was my life track that I was on until I dropped out to play music. And every attorney I've hired since then told me they wish they'd done the same thing. But she came and I served her food, and she was eating the whole wheat bread that we served. We had the first whole wheat bread bakery in America. And she said, "Why would you want to eat this? This is the food that we used to serve on the farm back in the Depression. This is not good food. We have white bread." We said, "Mom, please pass the whole wheat bread." And so the illusion in economics, and who's minding the store, is today my mother will tell me often, "You were right. I can't believe, how did you know this before the rest of us? How did you know that whole wheat bread was better for you than white bread? And why can't I find white bread in the store anymore?" And it's true. In 40 years, we went from a situation in America where you could not find whole wheat bread to now you're hard-pressed to find white bread. The Prius is another example of this, the changing of economics, and how, dare I say it, the hippies were right. We invented Earth Day because we became aware of the fact that you needed to structure your economics to take care of the planet while you took care of each other. But as I said, we weren't really socialist, communist, or even capitalist, but we were into business. And I think that's what progressive economics is. So I wrote this article, Who's Minding the Store, and Mark read it, and he said, "I want to introduce you to my economic theories, because yours are all based on the social or moral aspects as Democrats that we work on. You know, fairness, social justice, equality, opportunity, tolerance, inclusion, the liberal ideal." By the way, a progressive, the difference between a progressive and a liberal and a conservative is a conservative wants to defend the past. A liberal wants to go to the future, but a progressive is a liberal activist making the future happen. So it's not like progressives are not liberals, they are, but they're activists. And it's not like conservatives are our enemy, they're just another member of our family that we have to get to pass the whole wheat bread. That's the way it is, even in my own family. So Mark read my article, and then he showed me his stuff, and he had the most amazing concept of this progressive economics. And we started working together on the final article in my book is on progressive economic principles. It's a co-write between Mark and myself. It's his ideas. It's a lot of my writing. And what came out of working with him for a couple of years was the idea of, well, Mark says, "I got a great idea. Why don't we start a nonprofit, the Center for Progressive Economics?" And so that's in fact what we've done. And when you go to our website, when you get this handout that we have here on some of the principles of progressive economics, you'll start to begin to see what we're talking about. And that is what Mark is here to discuss with you. And it's more of a discussion than a presentation. You could hear all of the principles of progressive economics, but then you would really need to discuss them, okay, to get the concept. For instance, and I'll tell you the first one, and now let Mark take it from there. With one more footnote. I was a guest on Lila Garrett's Connect the Dots yesterday, and I'll be hosting the show next week while Lila takes a break, and it'll be on progressive economics and what's going on in Washington and progressives and where we are in the Democratic Party, or where we aren't, more to the point. But activists and other progressive people, liberals, Democrats ask me, what can I do today? What can I do to make a difference? I think what you have to do, and here's the task, because if you make the ask, I'll give you the task, is you have to educate yourselves on economics. You must take the time, and this is hard, this is difficult, because everyone knows economics will make your eyes glaze over and your head hurt just as soon as you start talking about it. It's a difficult subject. What Mark and I are trying to do is make it simpler so you can digest it, but you still have to do some work, because the future of politics is economics. And for instance, and I'll let Mark take it from here, the argument in Washington, D.C. is about what?
The budget.
Fiscal, right? Fiscal policy. Tax, spend, debt, tax, spend, debt, tax, spend, debt. Guess what? That's not the problem. That is not the problem. The problem is monetary policy. Now, most people, you say, what's the difference? That's why you need to educate yourself. That's where it begins. Mark has some very novel policy positions and theories, And it begins with the difference between fiscal policy, the illusion of debt, and monetary policy. And has anyone here heard about the state bank movement? Okay? That's part of monetary policy. That's where you start to make the change from fiscal to monetary. And with that, I'm going to introduce, I think, the greatest economic mind in America today, my friend, the chair and founder of the Center for Progressive Economics, Mark Taft.